truly wise, and ever rejoice in his consolation through the same Christ our Lord.
Amen.
O Lady Guadalupe,
Pray for us.
Saint Joseph,
Pray for us.
Paul and Perry,
Pray for us.
Saint Ignatius,
Pray for us.
Saint Bonaventure,
Pray for us.
Saint, all God's angels and saints.
Pray for us.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Well, good evening.
Good evening, Father.
Okay, the first thing I'd like to talk about is prayer, because this consecration program with the Blessed Mother, the very heart of it is your prayer experience that you have every day. So I'd like to talk about that first. First point I'd like to highlight is this. Teresa of Avila says that you learn how to pray by praying. Okay? Maybe that seemed to be obvious, but if you want to pray, you want to learn how to pray, you have to give time, and you have to give goodwill, and you have to give effort. So half the battle of praying well is you have to give time every day. Teresa of Avila, the master of prayer, says, debemos tener una determinada determinación para nunca dejar la oración. Very poetic in Spanish. In English it is, we have to have a determination to never give up prayer. So if you really want this consecration program to have an impact in your life, you have to give the Lord and the Blessed Mother, you have to give time. And this is a group that has a certain amount of spiritual maturity. If you only pray based on feelings, you're lost. You're lost. You're lost. Okay. Story. There was a man that was writing down in his diary what happened in his prayer period. But he was faithful to his prayer period, and he wrote down every day what was happening. So the first entry was this. He wrote nada. Okay, then the second was nada. And the third day was nada. And the whole week he wrote down nada. The name of this man was St. John of the Cross. Okay? You ever heard of St. John of the Cross? Here we have the greatest mystical doctor in the Catholic Church. He didn't really feel anything, but he was faithful. I cannot insist so much important. If you're going to be faithful to Mary and Jesus, you have to give a block of time. For me, it's every morning at about 5:40 to about 10 to 7. As we say in New York, come hell or high water, I'm just going to be there. Okay? Sometimes I have a lot of light, sometimes I'm very tired. But who cares? It doesn't depend upon feelings, no? Before being a priest, I had many different jobs. One was I worked on General Motors there in Massachusetts. I worked on the line. And this was a summer job I had to be able to pay the expenses for Villanova, where I graduated in '78. I had to make money, no? I had to be there at 6 o'clock every morning. And every hour they pumped every hour they pumped about 45 new cars off the line about every hour. And my job was to, with an air pistol, to shoot a couple of bolts behind the aluminum, behind the license plate, then throw one of those plastic mats in the back of the car. I had to do that every minute and 20 seconds, no? Now, what would have happened if I decided to show up not at 6 o'clock, but at 7 o'clock? There'd be 45 cars that wouldn't have the place, and we had inspectors on the line. They would have come and said, who's here? His name is Broom. Is your name Broom? Get on that broom, fly out of here, and don't come back. Never happened because I wanted the money to be able to pay for my books, no? So whether or not it felt like it or not, I had to be there at 6 o'clock. So if in the work world in the United States, if you're not going to be faithful, you're going to be dismissed. Shouldn't we be even more faithful to God? My younger brother was the CEO of a very successful company in New Hampshire, and I remember when I was on vacation, he said that there's this young man, he's using his phone, coming late, and my brother gave him 3 strikes, and you're out in left field, no? Shouldn't we be more faithful to our prayer than athletes, than workers, because we're dealing with the salvation of our souls and our children. So, got to be faithful. You got to be faithful. Second point is when you pray, have a method. Have a prayer method. Prayer method that I suggest is taken from Pope Benedict XVI in his apostolic exhortation Verbum Domini, which was on the Bible. And he gives a prayer method called Lectio Divina. Some of you have heard of Lectio Divina. And these are the 5 steps that Pope Benedict gives that you can use in your prayer period. Lectio, meditatio, contemplatio, oratio, actio. Okay? I'll repeat. Lectio, meditatio, contemplatio, oratio, actio. I'd add a last, transformatio. Translated in English, lectio. You got to read. Got to read. That's why you've got my book. And my book is not a doorstop. Okay. No, you got to read. And many people, they have difficulty in praying because their mind is empty. So where Teresa of Avila says, never go to prayer without a book. See, Teresa of Avila, never go to prayer without a book. Maybe you've been trained to meditate for, maybe 25 years. Okay, you don't have to rely so much on the book. But those who are in training in spiritual boot camp, you got to have a book. You have to have a book. Lectio means you got to read. see that guy? He blew out the candle. I've got a candle story. There was a couple, they couldn't have children, and they were really good friends with a priest. And the priest would have meals about once a month, and he was transferred to go back to Rome to study at St. John Lateran to get his degree in canon law. And he said that I will light a candle in front or in the Basilica of St. Peter that you'll have a child eventually, at least have one child. So he thought he was going to be gone for 7 years. He ended up by being there for 16 years. So when he came back, he decided he was going to visit this family friend, this family that they couldn't have any children. So he knocked on the door. He opened up the door, and it was like a zoo. There was a teenage boy that was 15. There was one that was 14 and 13. Twins that were 12, then 10 and 8 and 6 and 4 and 2. And the lady was pregnant, 8 months pregnant. And she said, and the priest said, well, where's your husband? He said, he's in Rome. Why? He went to blow out the candle. So as Gerardo blew out the candle, that story came to me. Remember maybe Tommy Lasorda, who was there in Cincinnati, and the Dodgers were about to play the Reds. And Tommy Lasorda, he's a really good Catholic. So he came in, and the manager of the Reds was a good Catholic too, Cincinnati Reds. As soon as Tommy Lasorda came in, the manager of the Reds had lighted a candle to St. Jude. He's a saint of the impossible cases, no? That season the Dodgers were really strong. So the Reds manager got up, Tommy Lasorda knelt down, and he prayed, and he got up, and he blew out the candle. And the Dodgers won. It wasn't like against the Red Sox, okay? So you got to read. Lectio. Meditatio. Lectio, meditatio. Meditatio, you can already see enshrined in that word, meditation. So you have to, meditation means you got to think. 2 times in the Gospel, we hear that Mary, for her part, she meditated in her heart. You go back to the original Greek, the word is ruminate. Now, ruminate means this. Did you ever see a cow chewing the cud? See the way a cow chews, and he masticates, and he pulverizes the food. That's the actual word in Greek. It means to think and to ponder and to think again and to reflect. In other words, if you're going to learn to pray, meditate upon the mysteries of the Rosary, you have to apply your mind to think about what the biblical passage means. In other words, it takes effort. Many people will drop out because it's just too hard work. And I prefer not to lower the bar. I prefer, the valiant men and women that want to follow in the footsteps of the heroes of the saints, come along. But if it's too hard for you, drop out. Be a quitter. Okay? It's sad though, no? But it's hard work. Anyone that takes prayer seriously knows that it's hard work. If you take prayer seriously. But it's worth it, right? It's worth it. It's worth the effort. People that do not make the firm purpose to pray well are destined to mediocrity. You're destined, Revelation chapter 3, you're neither hot nor cold, lukewarm, I will spit you out of my mouth. There's no other way around. Either we take our prayer life seriously or we're destined to mediocrity. As my professor at the Angelicum in Rome said, a lot of these people will get into heaven, but just with their pants burnt, you know? Barely get in the back door, okay? Aim high. Aim high. Then contemplatio. There you have the word. You can almost intuit what the word is going to be. It's contemplation. I can say a lot about this, but contemplation is basically you're utilizing your imagination. I repeat, you're utilizing your imagination. We all have an imagination, right? If you've studied Aristotle or Thomas Aquinas, Aristotle and Thomas Aquinas says that the mind has three faculties, which are memory, understanding, and imagination. Those are the three faculties of your mind. But because of original sin, we got to cultivate them. Teresa of Avila calls it la loca de la casa. You hear me? Teresa of Avila calls la loca de la casa. What's that? The mad woman of the house, because it goes right and left, up and down, north and south, east and west. It's hard. That's why I love true devotion. St. Louis de Montfort says to Mary, Mary, check my wandering imagination. I love that. Mary, to check my wandering imagination. Years ago, I made a retreat with Owen Kearns, who was the editor of the National Catholic Register, a legionary priest. And I remember in one of our conversations, he said, our imagination, either we use it for good or for evil. If any of you saw the movie that came out 2.5 years ago from the Philippines on St. Ignatius Loyola, any of you see it? Great film. It was made in the Philippines by the Ateneo, some Filipinos here. Really well done. One of the best scenes is Ignatius is talking with a reformed prostitute, and he says to her, try to imagine that you're sitting in front of Jesus, and Jesus is really your best friend. Look at Jesus, imagine Jesus, look at his face, look at the way he looks at you with love. It's one of the best scenes in the movie. If you've seen the movie, I invite you to see it. So using your imagination is, for example, last week you did the joyful mysteries. For example, the visitation, the birth of Jesus, there's a gold mine there. Maybe some of you spent 3 hours, I don't know. It's so rich. Last week for you people, it was Christmas. I mean, hopefully you imagine Jesus in the arms of Mary, in the arms of Joseph, and maybe you asked Mary to give the baby Jesus. Your mother's here. You held the baby Jesus, you kissed him, and you sang a lullaby to him. That's what we're aiming at, my friends. If you're open. In other words, prayer isn't simply a head experience, it's of the heart too. But that's all in the realm of the imagination. You imagine. How many mothers here? No mothers here? Well, okay, you had your baby in your arms. So imagine the baby Jesus in your arms. Now tender. You're giving him a little kiss. You're singing to him. You're holding him to your heart. You hear his heartbeat close to your heart. Right? Oh, every mother understands this better than men, right? See, you really become engaged in the life of Jesus and Mary if you follow this course and you try to correspond. In other words, you're going to get out of this what you put into it. As we say in New York, no free rides. Okay, you got to work at it. You know, no free rides. No. Contemplatio. Use your imagination. Use your imagination. Your imagination has to be trained. Imagination has to often be purified because there's a lot of bad images that have to be expunged. They have to be obliterated or deleted through the working of the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is fire, right? The Holy Spirit, as fire, He purifies and He enlightens. No? Then what was the word I said after that? Oratio. What do you think that means? Oratio? Pray. So the Holy Spirit moves you. Open up your heart and talk to Mary. Talk to Mary in your own words. Talk to her. Don't be afraid. Talk to Mary. Blessed Cardinal John Henry Newman says that prayer is a colloquy of heart to heart between our heart and the heart of God. And talk to Mary as long as you want. If something in your memory, your imagination seems to really captivate you and it goes down to your heart, talk to her. Maybe you've had one of your prayer periods where something just seems to captivate your mind, your imagination, touches your heart, and you really have something you want to talk to Mary about, and you talk to Mary the whole hour. That's great. Don't be afraid to open up and tell Mary everything that's in the very depths of your heart. I was telling my boys in confirmation today, trying to connect these teenagers to Jesus Christ as their best friend. I'm really struggling with it. I really want these teenagers to love Christ. If they don't do it now, it's probably going to be too late. So really pray for them. They've got a tough life ahead of them. Tough life, no? I believe if they can have a connection with Jesus and Mary now, that could get them through the tough times. What do you think? They're telling them, if I said, Josue, if I want to talk with you, and I got your cell number, I call you, but you're talking with one of your friends, you're on the phone for 45 minutes with your friend, I just got to wait. But I'm going to tell you, there's a phone number that's never too busy. Are you listening? Are you? Are you listening? Okay, remember, it's H-E-A-V-E-N. What's that? There's another one that's never busy. J-E-S-U-S. Another one that's never busy. M-A-R-Y. Another one. J-O-S-E-P-H. Amen. You start to talk to Mary. Mary's so happy. And what she does is once you start to talk with her, you're saying, my daughter, I've been waiting for this conversation for such a long time. Let's talk. Tell me everything that's going on in your life. Mary never gets tired. Face it. There's some people that come to talk with us and we want to bolt, right? There's a good New York word to bolt, run in the other direction. And some people see us and they want to bolt too, right? It's mutual, no? But Mary never gets tired of us. You're going to say, that lady, she's so boring, man. Hope she comes next month and she makes it shorter, no? That's not the way Mary is. Every time you approach her, and you open up your heart, Mary's like this. And she's not like this. She's not like this. Excuse me, what were you saying? That's the way we are. I'm like that, you are sometimes. Sometimes we're just tired, right? Spanish they say son los años, no? Okay. Talk to her. No matter what you say, might seem to be something very insignificant, something that's not important. There's nothing insignificant or unimportant between you and Mary. You hear me? What might appear to be something kind of dumb or even kind of something stupid, something that the world might consider as insignificant, kind of dumb, irrelevant, inconsequential. No, not in the eyes of Mary. It's important. What's important to you is even more important to Mary. Yeah. Amen? Yeah. That's oratio. What oratio means? Prayer. Now, if you are faithful to your meditation, hopefully in the morning, not to say that it has to be done in the morning, but I strongly encourage you to do it in the morning. Why? Because if you put it off, either you're not going to do it, you're going to do it poorly. You know that from experience. You put it off, then I'll do it at 5 o'clock, and then you get a phone call, and your son comes in, and then, something happens. So you do it early in the morning at the crack of dawn. That sets the tone for the rest of the day. Now, if that's done also, do any of you know the patroness or the Virgin of St. Ignatius that you will see in the House of Jesus in Rome? Don't all speak at the same time now. Okay, La Madonna della Strada. Parla italiano? La Madonna della Strada. In Espanol, Santa Maria del Camino. In English, Our Lady of the Way. Our Lady of the Way. Now, if you don't understand what that means, I'll spell it out to you. If you do your meditation faithfully in the morning, you're going to be experiencing Mary's presence with you during the course of the day. Believe me. You're going to find yourself talking with Mary. You're going to find yourself inviting Mary to come with you. You're going to be finding yourself consulting Mary. You're going to find yourself asking Mary for help. You're going to find yourself in moments of temptation calling out, Mary, help me. You find yourself, when you got victories, telling Mary, thank you. Maybe you heard the story of the man who was about to get a new job and he had a very important interview, and he arrived to the place for his interview, but there are no parking places. So he said, Mary, please find me a parking place. If you do, I'm going to say 4 rosaries a day for 9 days. So right in that moment, a car was pulling out, and he said, don't worry about that, Mary, I already found the place. Okay. You already heard me use that in my retreat talk last time. It's worth hearing again, right? We want to ask Mary to help us find a parking space here as well as in heaven, right? There's not going to be any tow truck in heaven, huh? Then the last word is axio. What's axio? Lights, camera, and? Action. You got it, huh? Action. So what does that mean? It means this. If you're doing lectio, meditatio, contemplatio, oratio, in other words, you're really praying well, it has to change your life. You have to put into practice the fruits of your prayer period. Hello? You hear me? You have to. Teresa of Avila says, how can we know that we're praying well if we're living well? Teresa of Avila. Living well doesn't mean we're making a lot of money, we have a big Mercedes Benz, we got a yacht there in Newport Beach. It doesn't mean that, no? Or Huntington Beach, okay? It means we're living well, we're living a life of holiness. And who gives us an example of lectio, meditatio, contemplatio, oratio, y actio? Mary! Annunciation, visitation. The Annunciation is Mary at prayer. What about the visitation? Mary in action. That's why Mother Teresa, some of you work with Mother Teresa, the nuns, says that Mary was the first missionary of charity. because after she received Jesus into her heart, Mary went in haste. She went in haste to bring Jesus to others. That's why Mother Mary is the first missionary of charity. Amen? And I'd like to add a baker's dozen, if you give me permission. It is transformatio. What is that word, transformatio? So if you're doing lectio, meditatio, contemplatio, oratio, actio well, it should lead to transformatio. As St. Paul says, no longer I who live, but, finish it. St. Paul says that. It's no longer I who live, but it's Christ who lives in me. So if you are doing your meditations properly, there's going to be a transformation. You're going to become more and more like Christ, more and more like Mary. You're going to be the aroma of Christ, as St. Paul says. No longer I who live, but it's Christ who lives in me. Jesus is going to be the way, the truth, and the life. And Mary's going to be the one you want to try to imitate. Follow in the aroma of her virtues. So there we have a method that all of us have to maintain if we're really going to be faithful to our prayer life. Then after you finish your meditation, then write down in your notebook what happened in that experience. Very important. Write down what was your encounter with Mary in that experience. Take the Annunciation. There's so much there. Maybe some of you, I don't know, did some of you imagine like the Holy Spirit covering Mary, Mary conceiving through the power of the Holy Spirit? Wow, I mean, it's going to catapult you into ecstasy, maybe. Maybe some of you are already elevating, no? Kind of levitating like this, come down, no? There's so much there. And you're going to be sharing that with your group as an act of charity. All of you are going to have different insights. The visitation. Mary greets Elizabeth, and the baby in the womb of Elizabeth leaps for joy. You could spend 2 hours just on that. One insight that I always have is, you know, it's the best pro-life passage in the Bible. Give me a better one, please. Hello? I don't think there's any better pro-life passage in the Bible than the encounter between these two mothers. And they would be primary candidates for abortion in the American society. They would be. You know why? Elizabeth was maybe 70 years old. How many women here, you're 70, you go to the doctor, you're going to have another baby? Wow. You call your children, by the way, you're going to have another sibling, no? Obviously, the doctors here would say, hey, you're way too old. You can't have that baby. See how this can easily be applied to the American society? I've heard a case of a woman who was 42, 43, there in New Jersey. She wanted to have a pregnancy test, and it was a Catholic medical building, and the doctor asked the woman, well, what are you going to do with it? And the woman was highly offended and said, what do you mean by what are you going to do with it? Well, you know, you're in your mid-40s. You could place your life in danger. You could place the baby in danger. And the woman was really offended. So she confronted the doctor and said, did you have an abortion? And she shut the doctor up. And then she stormed out, slammed the door, and went to another doctor. Then on October 26, 1973, she was 43, she had a beautiful baby little girl, little baby girl. Now that little girl turned 45 just about 3 weeks ago. She has 8 children. She's a graduate from Steubenville. She teaches NFP. And her godfather is a priest. That's me. Yes. It's me. And the woman was my mother. Yep. That was my mom. They're 9 altogether. I was born when my mom was 25. Mary Teresa was born, my mom was 43. And my mom said she was easier than you. She had a lot of practice, and that was true. But for me, the mystery of the Rosary, they impinge upon my life. It's not something academic that simply happened, 2,000 years ago. These mysteries are should be touching your life right now. See, you got the contemplation, you got the actio. You're going from prayer to putting into practice these beautiful virtues. These beautiful virtues that Mary teaches us. What about the birth of Jesus? The temptation is, well, I know about that Christmas. I've been meditating upon that for 50 years. There's nothing new underneath the heaven. Hey, don't say that. Don't say that. The Holy Spirit can give you an insight that you never thought about. Or maybe, as Fulton Sheen says, growing in our faith isn't so much learning new things, but assimilating the things that we already know up here, but they have to go from the head to the heart. Fulton Sheen. That's Fulton Sheen. If you ever do the exercise with me, you do the 8-day retreat, what I'll tell you is this, look. You got the baby of Jesus in Mary's arms. Ask Mary if she can give you the baby Jesus. And hold the baby Jesus in your arms. And just spend a whole hour there in quiet, loving contemplation. That could be the best prayer period you've ever had in your life. And it can transform you. The presentation. What really jumps out at me, I don't know about you, we're all different. For me, what jumps out is The one word, the sword. For me, where I'm at now, the sword. And it wasn't a little dagger, it was, if you'll go to the Greek, a huge crescent sword. Go to the Greek. That a sword will pass through your heart. Wow. Right away, at least my meditation, that 33 years later, Mary's going to be underneath the cross. Jesus dies, and the soldier comes with that lance, zoom! Right through the heart of Jesus. Blood and water comes gushing forth. That's the blood and water that was given to Jesus by Mary. There's a lot in that. And that sword went right through the heart of Mary. That was prophesied 33 years earlier. And that makes me think about what St. Alphonsus Liguori says. Was Mary a martyr? Yes. St. Alphonsus says yes. Mary, what Jesus suffered in his body, Mary suffered in the depths of her heart. That should move you to a great love for Mary because she suffered that for you. See, we pray the rosary quickly, right? Now you have the opportunity in this course to plumb the depths of these gems, these jewels. These are jewels. They're jewels. And then you have the fifth mystery. Jesus is lost for 3 days. Have you ever lost your child when he was a child? Do you ever lose your child when he's 3, 4, 5 years old? How did you feel? Those 5 minutes were like 5 years. You almost died. And you found him in the supermarket, there he was eating the cornflakes on the other side. But it was like 5 years, those 5 minutes, huh? But I think every mother here today, or grandparents, how many grandparents? How many of you suffered maybe because your children or grandchildren, maybe they have lost their faith? You see the connections here? Because if you take it seriously, there's a million different connections connecting with your reality. Your children are lost. Your grandchildren have wandered off into some wrong place. What is a natural fruit of that meditation? There you are talking with Mary. Maybe tears are welling up in your eyes. They're trickling down your cheeks. You're saying, Mary, you lost Jesus for 3 days. My son has left the church for 10 years. I beg you, Mary. I beg you, Mary, please bring him back. And Mary's listening to you. He's listening to you. You know, could very likely happen is that you die and you don't see your child returning. When he's on his deathbed, guess who's going to be right next to him? Hello? The Blessed Mother. He's abandoned the faith, but you prayed for him 40 years before, and you shed a river of tears. And Mary takes those tears and broken heart that you had, applying it to your son when he's lying there about to die. And Mary's begging Jesus, Jesus, I beg you for the salvation of this son. And he says, Jesus, mercy. And he dies, he's saved. Because of the holy hour that you made last week. You're not going to see all the fruits of your prayer. But there is no prayer that's made with purity, sincerity, and love that Mary will not answer. I repeat, there's no prayer that is made with purity of heart, sincerity, and love that Mary will not answer. She may not answer it in the way that you expect. Yesterday we had a really good conversation with one of our priests that's visiting from Denver. And he told us a story I'd like to tell all of you related to Mary and what's going on in your hearts. It's a story about Mother Teresa. It's a story about a Jesuit priest that was going through a really tough time. He was in a lot of darkness. And he wanted clarity. So he asked the provincial if he could have a 6-month sabbatical. And his provincial gave him permission. So he traveled to Calcutta. And he spent some time with Mother Teresa. And he's trying to get through this dark night of the soul. And Mother Teresa, seeing him, stops and starts to talk with him. And Mother Teresa just finished helping out a poor person, and then she's sitting next to him, and they're talking. And he says, "Mother, I beg you for this grace. I beg you for the grace to have great clarity, that God will give me great clarity." Mother Teresa said, "I will not pray for that." She said, "I will pray only that you will have greater trust in God." Wow. Says it all, huh? Doesn't mean, my friends, by having this course, everything is going to be hunky-dory, it's going to be a piece of cake. No, I didn't promise that. And your devotion to Mary doesn't mean it's going to be smooth sailing. But if you really do love Mary, Mary's going to help you, not always to have absolute clarity. No. John of the Cross speaks of the dark night of the soul, which you have to go through this dark tunnel. But one fruit I really hope and trust during the course that we're making now is that you people will have greater trust in Jesus Christ. Amen? Amen. And that trust will come if you entrust yourself to Mary. That's why we say, "Hail, Holy Queen, Mother of Mercy, our life, our sweetness, and our hope." So may God bless you today, tomorrow, and always through the intercession of the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Amen. Amen. Let's pray. Hail, Holy Queen, Mother of Mercy, our life, our sweetness, and our hope. To thee do we cry, for banished children of Eve. Thee do we send up our sighs, mourning and weeping in the valley of tears. Turn then, most gracious Advocate, your eyes of mercy towards us. And after this Orexo, show unto us the blessed fruit of our womb, Jesus. O clement, O loving, O sweet Virgin, pray for us, O Holy Mother of God.